Good morning, everyone. Sorry. Okay. So today is Wednesday, February 28th. We're one lecture behind, so today we will continue to finish 8.2. And let me see, because we only finished 8.2 today. Do you want to postpone the homework and the quiz to next Monday? Let's do that. So the homework and the quiz, let's move to next Monday. So homework, okay, let's edit it and move to next Monday. And also the quiz, move to next Monday. Oops, it is quiz. That is the schedule here. Okay, so we move the quiz to next Monday.
This one she changed.
All right.
I do remember when she changed the question. Because you were down the question.
Okay, so depends on our schedule. Let's see if we need to move the homework 3 and the quiz and the exam. So let's see. Okay, so save as PDF. Oh, yeah. Yeah, yes. So probably it's better to move that later. Okay. Sorry, I'm too sick. Okay, so last time we talked about the graph of tangent and cotangent. Yes, everybody? So every day review the graph of 6 trig functions. So sine and cosine, they are waves, and sine start with 0, cosine start with 1. The period is 2 pi. So those 5 key points is like you divide the interval 0 to 2 pi into 5 pieces, right? And you draw those 5 key points. Yes? And then tangent and cotangent. The graph of tangent looks like x cubed. And then the graph of cotangent is like you flip it upside down, right? But the tangent, okay, is from minus pi over 2 to pi over 2. So the period is now pi. And we also look at the 5 key points. So that's why this range is pi, and you divide it into 5 subintervals. We get minus pi over 2, minus pi over 4, 0, pi over 4, and pi over 2. And then we get also the y values. The cotangent, okay, the shape looks like this. Is 0 to pi. So the period is also pi. And we also have 5 key points. So you divide this interval 0 to pi into 5 subintervals. So the x values or the theta values are 0, pi over 4, pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, and pi. And then we also get the y values after you draw the graph. Everybody remember the graph? No, it's a practice. If you don't remember, practice. So today, after we do one more example of cotangent, we will then talk about secant and cosecant. Okay, so then you will know all those 6 graphs. And yes, so let's continue to finish the example of cotangent. So for all the problems ask you to graph a trig function, the methods almost the same. Okay, what do? You draw a table with 4 columns. They are x, theta, and then, the third column depends on the trig function. The trig function, in this case, the trig function is cotangent, right? And then the y. The y is, plug in.
-3 cotangent theta plus 4.
Exactly. Very good. Yes, everybody, take notes. Everybody take out your worksheets, take notes. At the end of the semester, you can show me your notes, then you get 1% extra credits. And make sure you don't miss any examples notes, okay? Because if you miss one example, you will lose 0.1. So if you miss 10 examples throughout the whole course, you don't get any bonus. So if you miss a class, make sure you watch the recording and take notes. So if you don't understand some steps, please come to see me. I hope everybody can understand every problem in class, in the homework, in the quiz, in the practice exams. And then you can do well on the exam. Okay? So the first step, we fill out the values of the theta. And this is when you need, all the basic graph and the 5 key points. Yes. So we have the theta values 0, pi over 4, pi over 2, pi over, I said pi over 4, and then pi over 2. And then 3 pi over 4 and pi. Yes, everybody, we fill out the theta values. If you forget to bring your worksheets, feel free to take notes on your notebook. Okay. Second step, we fill out the cotangent columns. Cotangent columns are what?
1, 0, -1.
Yes. So undefined, 1, 0, -1, and then undefined. Bless you. So, everybody? So these 2 columns is fixed when you have cotangent function in your problem. Okay? Those 2 columns is always the same. And then depends on how your function change. Your x might be different, your y might be different. So how do we find x? So we know the angle theta is 2x minus pi. How do you solve for x? Yes, we add pi to both sides, and we get 2x. And then divide by 2. Yes. So the third step, fill out the x column. So x is theta plus pi over 2. Right, everybody? Yeah, so take out your worksheets and take notes. The first step, we fill out the theta column. And then we fill out the cotangent theta column. These 2 columns is always the same when you have a cotangent function in the problem. Okay? So that's why I asked you to draw this basic graph. This is the basic graph of the trig function. See? What happened? Okay, that's the basic graph of the trig function. They're always the same. Then, based on how I change the problem, your x will be different, the y will be different. Okay, everybody? Now, the x. How do we find the x? Beta is 2x minus pi. We solve for x. So add pi on both sides. Thank you. And then divide it by 2. So we get x is theta plus pi over 2. So now for each number of the theta values, we plug in and find the x. So here theta is 0. 0 plus pi over 2 is pi over 2. Right, everybody? And then next, theta is pi over 4. So we plug in, right? We plug in here. Pi over 4 plus pi over 2. Okay. What is pi over 4 plus pi? 5 pi over 4. Right, everybody? 5 pi over 4 over 2. And last time we said A over B over C over D is A over B times the reciprocal. When you divide it by a number, it's the same as multiply by its reciprocal. So the 2 here is like 5 pi over 4 times 2. I ran out of space. So that's why it's 5 pi over 8. Everybody clear how we get this number? Yes? We plug in the theta, the pi over 4 here. Then we get this number. Continue. So theta is pi over 2 now. So we plug in the formula. So pi over 2 plus pi, and then over 2. What's pi over 2 plus pi? Yeah, 3 pi over 2. And when you divide it by 2, this 2 will multiply the denominator. Yes? So we get, good, 3 pi over 4. Okay? And I also taught you a trick, right? You can actually do the calculation in your calculator. But for some of your calculator, don't plug in the pi. Okay? You can put 1/2 plus 1 over 2. Then your calculator gives you the fraction, 3 over 4. Then you just multiply by pi. Okay? So you can use your calculator to check your work. So I hope that when you practice a problem, try to practice without your calculator. But then after you finish, you can use your calculator to check your work. Okay, next, 3 pi over 4, and then plus pi over 2. What's 3 pi over 4 plus pi? Common denominator, 4. So you multiply by 4 divided by 4. 7 pi over 4. And divided by 2 is 7 pi over 8. Yes, everybody? Thank you. So finally, we plug in pi. Oh, so we plug in pi into this formula. We get pi plus pi over 2. Oh, what is that? Pi, yes. So 2 pi over 2 is pi. Okay, so we get all the x values. Yes, everybody? Yes, so if you forget your notes, take out your notebook and then you can take notes. And I also want to remind you, if your scores is lower than 70 in the exam 1, I hope to see you every week. So I really want to help you. I want everybody can at least pass this course. And so, but if your score is greater than 70, but if you still want to improve your grades, I also encourage you to meet weekly. Okay? So let's see. Okay, yeah, and I'm about to enter your midterm grades So if you want to improve your homework scores and the self-assessment scores, yeah, please turn in your practice exam correction and record as well. The midterm grades. It, maybe around the spring break. Yeah. Yes.
Before spring break?
I'm not quite sure. Usually, I will receive an email from the registrar. Hey, you gotta submit your midterm grade by Tuesday. Blah blah blah. Something like that. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. So we fill out the x columns. Okay. Now we look at the y columns. So it's always fill out the theta and cotangent theta column. These two columns are fixed, no matter what the problem is, as long as it has cotangent. These two columns are fixed. Then, look, it depends on the problem. Find the theta, express x in terms of theta, fill out the x columns. And then the y, plug in the cotangent theta. Well, if it's undefined, what do you get? Undefined. You can plug in a number, right? So undefined. And then here, minus 3 plug in cotangent is 1 plus 4. What is that? 1. When we plug in 0, what do we get? 4. When we plug in minus 1, what do we get? 7. And last one, undefined. Everybody okay with that? So your next quiz, I will ask you to graph functions. Okay. All right. Now we are ready to draw the graph. So when you draw the graph, you look at the x values. Do you see it's between pi over 2 to pi? So it's all positive. So I will put my y-axis here instead of in the middle. Because you want to draw more about the positive side. Yes, everybody? So when you draw the x and y axis, you can look at the x value and y value and determine how you want to draw it. So my biggest number is pi. Okay? I put the pi here. Do I need 2 pi? No, the biggest is pi. So I put the pi here. And where is pi over 2? The middle. Yes, the middle is pi over 2. And then the middle between pi over 2 and pi is 3 pi over 4. Right, everybody? Yes. How about the middle? Because you see here, you have pi over 2 and 3 pi over 4. You have the middle. What's the middle? Yeah, 5 pi over 8. Yeah, that's the other one. Good. Between 3 pi over 4 and pi, the middle is 7 pi over 8. And you can see the values, they are either increasing or decreasing. But the difference between every two numbers should be the same. Everybody okay? So this is how we plug those numbers. Okay. This is the x. The y, we need 3 numbers. 1, 4, 7. So let's say this is 1, this is 4, and that is 7. Okay? Now let's see. Pi over 2. The y values, undefined. So we have a vertical asymptote here. Pi over 2, y undefined, vertical asymptote. And then 5 pi over 8, we get the y value is 1, which is this point. Is that okay, everybody? And then 3 pi over 4, what do we get? y is 4. So we put the 4. When x is 7 pi over 8, 7. Yes, 7 here. When x is pi, undefined. So we put a vertical asymptote. Now we connect them together. Can you imagine? So cotangent looks like this. So that's the center, right? So you imagine now the center is this point. Then you connect this point and approaching the vertical asymptote. Connect this point and approaching the vertical asymptotes. So it looks like this. Is that okay, everybody? So in the exam, I will ask you to draw 2 periods. So this is 1 period. And so to draw the other period, you kind of copy this and paste here. So therefore, okay, this interval is the same length. You cut it into 4 pieces. And this point will be what? The 7. Yeah? And here will be the 4. And here will be the 1. So 7, 4, 1, and you connect them. So this is another period. Is that clear, everybody? And I will also ask you period. I won't ask you for amplitude because tangent and cotangent does not have the amplitude. It's not bounded. It goes to infinity or minus infinity. But the period is the O period over the coefficient of x. The O period, what's the period of cotangent? Pi over the coefficient of x in the angle. What is that? 2. Do you see the period is pi over 2? This is one way to find the period. The second way is look at your x values. Look at the biggest number, pi. Look at the smallest number, pi over 2. What's the difference? Pi over 2, exactly. So period is the difference between the biggest x, the smallest x, and is pi over 2. Do you see they're the same? So 2 ways to find the period. Okay? Then we finish this problem. So all the problem about graphing trig functions, very standard. You draw a table, 4 columns. And if you have a sign, then you what? The theta and sine theta is our 5 key points, right? You start with 0 and then 1 and then 0 and then minus 1 and then 0. That's sine theta. If you have cosine, right? Cosine, you start with 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1, right? So keep this. That's why this is important. This is the basic, okay? The simplest trig function. That's the middle 2 column. And then you find the x and find the y. All right. Now, any questions about this problem? All good? Okay, so now, secant and cosecant. So this is the unit circle. Secant, how do we draw secant? Once you know the graph of cosine, you can draw secant. So remember the graph of cosine was what? Yeah, start with 1 and then 0, minus 1, 0, and 1. And you connect them. This is cosine. Is that okay, everybody? Yeah, that's cosine. Everybody remember, right? If you don't remember, please practice. Okay. Now let's use a different color. Now secant. Secant is 1 over cosine. Look at this point. Y value is 1. Is 1/1. 1. Yes. So yeah, we focus on the key point like 0, pi/2, and the pi, the 3 pi/2, and the 2 pi. Okay, we focus on those 5 key points. Here, cosine 0 is 1. So 1/1 is 1. Pi/2. Cosine pi/2. Do you see here? What's cosine pi/2? It's 0. So 1/0 is undefined. Exactly. So we have a vertical asymptote here. It's undefined. How about pi? What's cosine pi? Cosine pi is, what was the number? -1. 1/-1 is -1. So we have this point. How about 3 pi/2? What's cosine 3 pi/2? 0. What's 1/0? Undefined. Finally, okay, sorry, undefined. We know there is a vertical asymptote. Finally, what's cosine 2 pi? 1. 1/1 is 1. So we plot the points. Now, how do we draw it? So we have this point, and we're approaching to this line. Okay? So therefore, we draw it like this. And then here we approaching those 2 lines. We draw like this. And then on this side we draw like this. So the purple is the cosecant. You just flip the cosine. Okay, flip it up, down, up, down. So now our math dance, sine, cosine. Everybody move your hands. Sine, cosine, they are wave. Yeah, move your hands. The wave. Move your hand. Where's your hand? Wave. And tangent, like x cubed. Okay, so do like this. Tangent. And cotangent, like this. See? Cotangent, like this, right? Yeah, yes. And then now secant. Oh, up, down, right? You flip the cosine. So use the math dance to help you remember the shape. So those are the 5 key points. Now, do you have this sheet? Yes, take it out. Now let's draw the secant. Okay. So the angle theta is the same as the angle of the cotangent. Okay, the secant is 1/cotangent. So I suggest you to draw the cotangent first. Oh, sorry, cosine. Sorry. Okay. Yes, cosine. So 0 to 2 pi, and the midpoint is pi, and then the midpoint here is pi/2. Here the midpoint is 3 pi/2. Okay, and the cosine. Yeah, you know the cosine is start with 1, and then 0, and then -1, and then 0, and then 1. Yes, that's the cosine. Okay. And now you draw the secant. Secant, you flip it up, down, up, down. Okay, so when the cosine is 0, you have vertical asymptote. And when the cosine is 1, 1/1 is 1. So you share the same point. And when cosine is -1, 1/-1 is still -1. So you share that point. Okay, so and then this flip over. So we get the graph of secant. So look at this. Secant 0 is 1. Secant pi/2 undefined. secant pi, -1. Secant 3 pi over 2, undefined. Secant 2 pi, 1. So once you draw the cosine, just flip it up, down, up, down. Okay, everybody? And look at the graph, or you can figure out the y values. So this is how we think. Everybody clear the process? Mm-hmm. Yes? Okay. So now, yeah, we look at the graph now, okay? You can see what is the domain. We have vertical asymptotes. This vertical asymptote is pi over 2. And this vertical asymptote, 3 pi over 2. So you can say x is not, okay, let me see. It does not allow me to write. Okay, x not equal to pi over 2 plus n pi, where n is an integer. Yes, everybody? So, yeah, we have infinitely many vertical asymptotes. So, it's pi over 2, and then 3 pi over 2, and minus pi over 2. You can say it's not equal to pi over 2 plus n pi. N is any integer. How about the range? The purple, okay, the purple curve. Okay, if you draw more period, that's the purple curve. The smallest y is from minus infinity up to -1. And then you don't have any values between -1 and 1, right? And then from 1 to infinity. So we say the range is from minus infinity to -1, include the -1. Union. So this is union. Have you seen the union symbol before? Yes. And then it's from 1 to infinity. So we know the domain and range from the graph after you draw it. Yes, everybody? Okay. Look at the graph. You see the period is also 2 pi because the period of cosine is 2 pi. And your secant depends on your cosine. So the period is also 2 pi. And the graph is discontinuous because we have vertical asymptotes, pi over 2 plus n pi. Do we have any x-intercepts? No, no x-intercepts. It has no amplitude because it's not bounded. It goes to infinity to minus infinity. But it has local extrema. So you see, it has local minimum, local maximums at those n pi. And look at the picture. It's symmetric with respect to the y-axis. Yes. So symmetric with respect to the y-axis, then this is an even function. Do you remember we say cosine and secant? They're so hungry, they eat the minus sign. Yes, because they're even function. They're symmetric with respect to the y-axis. That's why they eat the minus. Okay. Any questions about the secant function? Okay, let's also do the cosecant function. Okay. So cosecant is 1 over sine. Guess what? You need to draw the graph of sine. What's the graph of sine? 0, and then 1, 0, then 1, 0. Yeah, that is sine. Now you flip the sine. Okay, so how do you flip it? Okay, we also look at the 5 key points. Okay, so those are the 5 key points. Okay, so 0. Sine is 0. What is 1 over 0? Undefined. So we have asymptote, vertical asymptote there. And pi over 2, sine is 1. What's 1 over 1? 1. So we have a point there. And pi, sine is 0. 1 over 0 is undefined. So also draw a vertical asymptote. How about 3 pi over 2? That is negative 1. 1 over negative 1 is negative 1. And then finally 2 pi, sine 0. 1 over 0. Undefined. Now, see, we have this point and we're approaching to the asymptote. We draw it like this. But kind of flip it over, right? So go like this. And then here we go like this. So secant, cosecant is going to be up, down, up, down. You flip the cosine or you flip the sine. Is that okay, everybody? Mm-hmm. All right, so tell me, what's the domain? Look at those vertical asymptotes. X cannot be 0, X cannot be pi, X cannot be 2 pi, so X cannot be any multiple of pi. Right, everybody? How about the range? How small can y be? Minus infinity to 2, minus 1, include a minus 1, and then union. Exactly. Right, everybody? So look at the graph and we can figure out the domain and the range. Okay. So now let's see. The period is also 2 pi, right? Because it depends on the sine. The sine period is 2 pi. And the graph is discontinuous at integral multiple of pi. Yeah. It has no x-intercept. It does not cross the x-axis. It has no amplitude because it goes to infinity minus infinity. And it also has local extrema and local minimum, local maximums. This is symmetric with respect to what? Yes, symmetric with respect to the origin. So this is a odd function. Now we learn all the 6 trig graphs. The only even functions are cosine and secant. All the other 4 are odd functions. Okay, everybody? So that's why only cosine and secant are hungry. They eat the minus sign. No. Okay, good. So yes, let's also draw the graph here. We make this formula sheet complete. Okay, so probably next class or maybe next 2 class, I will ask you to fill out the sheets. So practice at home. Okay, theta is also those 5 key points. Now cosecant is 1 over sine. You also draw the sine first. See how I draw it? I know the values. 0 to 2 pi. The middle is pi. And then between 0 and pi, the middle is pi over 2. Between pi and 2 pi, the middle is 3 pi over 2. And then your sine start with what number? Excuse me. It starts with 0. And it goes up, down. Okay. All right. This is the sine. Right, everybody? Do you get this part? Do you have this paper? You don't have it? Maybe you forgot it, right? It's okay. Because I remember I give you all of this paper. So if you couldn't find it, If you lose it, please print this out. So this is the formula sheet chapter 8. I hope you practice filling out the formula. So next 2 class, I will give you a blank one and you practice filling out. Okay, so 1/0 is, you see, undefined. 1/1 is 1. 1/0 is undefined. 1/-1 is -1. And 1/0 is undefined. You flip it over. So it's up, down, up, down. Is that okay, everybody? This is how we draw the cosecant function. Any questions so far? All good? Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so how do we draw this? Graph, table, and we have x, theta, but then the third column is what? Yeah, cosecant theta. And then the last one is y. First step, what's the theta values? Look at this. You copy exactly the same 2 columns over there. Yes, everybody? So 0, pi/2, pi, 3 pi/2. You realize the theta values for sine, cosine, secant, cosecant, they're always the same. 0, pi/2, pi, 3 pi/2, and 2 pi. Okay, so sine, cosine, secant, cosecant, the theta columns always the same. And the cosecant, look at the cosecant. What do you get? Undefined 1. Yeah. So undefined 1, undefined -1, undefined. So it's very easy to calculate for the cosecant because a lot of values are undefined. And so when you plug in the y, you also get undefined. Okay. So this is theta, right? Theta is -x plus pi/2. How do you solve for x?
Negative x plus over 2 equals a theta.
And then, yeah, solve for x. So what do we do to solve for x?
Add 1.
And, oh, okay. So this is negative sign. You either multiply by -1 or you add the x. So you can choose to add the x. Then you have x plus theta is pi/2. Then you can move the theta to the other side. Then you have x equals pi/2 minus theta. Is that okay, everybody? There are more than one way to solve equation. You can also choose to subtract pi/2 and then divide it by -1 or multiply by -1. You will get the same answer. Okay, so more than one way to solve the equation. So x is pi/2 minus theta. Okay, now we plug in the theta values. You see pi/2 minus theta? Theta is 0. Oh, what do you get? Pi/2. Yes, everybody? And next, pi/2 minus theta. The theta is pi/2. What do you get? 0. Next, pi/2 minus theta. What's your theta? Pi. So what do you get? Yeah, negative pi/2. Is everybody okay? The pi minus 2 pi is negative pi and then over 2. Next one, pi/2 minus 3 pi/2. Negative pi. Pi over 2 minus 2 pi. Negative 3 pi over 2. Is everybody okay with the calculations? Yeah? So far so good? Okay. The fourth set. Compute the y. The y is what? 4 cosecant theta minus 1. Yeah? Everybody? 4 cosecant theta minus 1. When you plug in undefined, what do you get?
Undefined.
Yes. And when you plug in 1, you get what? 4 times. Be careful. Don't do cosecant 1. No, not your theta is 1. It's the entire cosecant theta is 1. And 4 minus 1 is 3. And next, what do you get? Undefined. How nice. Okay, next, 4. Yes. Good. It's the same method. Just the middle column change, but then you use the same method. Find the x, find the y, then put the points on the xy plane. Okay, so we draw the x, and we look at the x values. The biggest pi over 2, the smallest negative 3 pi over 2. So it's better to make it in the middle, and I will need negative 2 pi. And then this is negative pi. That's 0. X and y. Yes, everybody? Okay. And yeah, we need more, because then the middle here will be what? Negative 3 pi over 2. Yeah? And here is negative pi over 2. And also here is 2 pi. And this is pi. This is pi over 2. The 3 pi over 2. So are you okay with the x values? Like the longest is 2 pi, and then the middle one is pi, and the middle point between pi and 0 is pi over 2. Everybody okay with the x values? Okay, y values. We have 3. So 3 is some number here. And negative 5, some number there. Okay. Oops, sorry. All right, make it longer. Okay, now let's start. Let me use a different color so you can see. Pi over 2, undefined. So pi over 2, you draw a dashed line there, undefined. Okay. 0, we have 3. So 0, we have 3. Oops. Okay, 0, we have 3. Negative pi over 2, undefined. Yes, everybody? Next one, negative pi. It's negative 5. And how about the 2 pi? Sorry, I read the wrong one. Not 2 pi. It's negative 3 pi over 2. And negative 3 pi over 2 is also undefined. Now, you see, which one is the bigger point? Oh, this is the higher point, right? And you're going to flip it up. This is the lower point. You flip it down. Okay, everybody? So just see which one is bigger. Higher point, flip it out, and the lower point, flip it down. Okay? Don't draw something like this. No. You find the higher point, flip it up. Find the lower point, flip it down. Finally, what's the period? It's 2 pi over, what's coefficient of x? Okay, here, if the coefficient is negative, you actually put, it's actually negative coefficient of x in the angle. It's the absolute value of that. So therefore, it's 2 pi over absolute value of -1 is 2 pi. Your period is never negative. Is that clear, everybody? Your period is never negative. If you see the coefficient is negative, you put an absolute value to make it positive. And you can see here the difference between pi over 2 and negative 3 pi over 2 is 2 pi. So the period is 2 pi. You can also see it here. This is 2 pi. So it's the same thing. All right. So yeah, next class we continue. Also pre-now sessions 8.3. Okay, good. Yeah. Have a nice day.
Am I still coming to your office today?
You have any questions? So
What
far?
do you want the weekly meeting?
Yeah. I want. Yeah. So yeah. Please come. So, okay.
I'll be unable to meet.
Oh, how about Friday?
Possibly I could Friday.
Okay. Sounds good.
It will be a little bit later than what I thought because I have something to do for my lab.
Oh, okay. So like at 1 or?
I have to do it like right after my bio class.
Which is 12?
In which that ends at
11?
11.
Oh, 11. Yeah. Sounds good.
So I'll be right over after that.
Okay, good.